was so.
Story time today. So in the counter, and we're
Hey.
dead. We're dead as fuck, and it's not her fault.
I tried 3
Because
times.
I was here yesterday and got through all the jobs.
So here's the story of the
But
day.
you're here today.
So we had
Jobs 'cause yesterday-
our local competition pen muffler, who's down the street, and they're usually very, very busy. 2 of their customers showed up here, saying that they don't do check engine lights and diagnosis work.
Okay.
So the guy paid us for a diagnostic on his car and didn't get anything fixed. And then his son showed up with a car that they diagnosed. Well, they don't diagnose; they just give an estimate.
Right.
The accuracy of their estimate was 50% off.
No sense here. There's something there. I don't.
I understand, but you have a tire monitor.
Oh yeah, no, I already put it in.
So I checked the job out. They said it needed 2 control arms, 2 front tires, a wheel alignment, sway bar links, sway bar to frame bushings on a Magnum. Most of the front end parts were already replaced. It needed a right front upper control arm, sway bar links, a lateral arm on the left hand side. So they tried to get them for $1,300. For us to fix it with the right parts that it needed was $800. He didn't get it fixed. And then these people say that our labor rate compared to the market is way low. I do that for a reason, so that we're the most competitive. So then April takes a phone call for a guy whose car is at Midas, that they say it's a common problem that a Honda needs an oil pan because it's stripped. And I said, well, there's no common issues that I'm aware of for drain plugs. Maybe if it's a Ford plastic one because they're not really strong.
Plastic.
Then if you told me that it's a plastic drain plug and a plastic oil pan, I would say, yes, the failure rate of that is likely, but not on a Honda. If it's stripped out, some moron stripped it out.
Right.
So then he's asking what we charge, and then April's reading it out of all data, 2 hours labor, plus the parts, plus the oil. And the guy's like, well, Midas said it's 4 hours to do the job. And April's like, I'm telling you, the job pays 2 hours.
And then he said.
So then he keeps challenging April, like, I'm reading it right out of her estimator, it pays 2 hours. So then he wants an exact price and all this stuff. So April's like, all right, we'll call you right back. We get a price from our vendor, and then he says, well, magically, there's other shops calling around asking for a price for a Honda Accord oil pan. So then April calls him back and says, blah, 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 this is what it's going to cost. We can do it today. He says, well, why is it so cheap? Are you getting a cheap part? And I told April, you should have said, well, why are you calling around? And why are
You
you...
told me to say that after I hung up. That was
After
good.
you hung up, but I
would've
said, well,
that.
if you're not concerned about quality and price, why are you calling around? Why didn't you just go
No,
with
I explained
Midas?
that we have quite a few vendors that we go through.
Right.
And it's not the quality of the part, it's just the cheap part.
But
Cheaper
Midas
part.
was doubling the labor time, charging him 4 hours for a 2-hour job for an oil pan. And I don't know what their markup is on the part. But then he said, is it a cheap part? And April's like, the same Midas that you went to or called our vendor that has the part in stock, and they told us that. So it would be the same part that all the other shops are
Right.
calling around getting you a price for.
And he changed his tune real quick.
And they changed his tune real quick.
He was like, oh.
So, yeah, dealing with retail customers makes me fucking want to throw up sometimes. But what I wanted to get to is
Thank you.
I've had estimates where Pep Boys is double charging labor times for jobs, and people that
So good afternoon.
the cattle that they are paying it. And I hope that they would be wise to my videos and say, hey, at least let me check and make sure you're not screwing me, because getting charged double labor time for an oil pan or double labor time for a serpentine belt or some shit like that is just ridiculous. Unless you have seized and rusted out components. That's a different story. Or inaccurate repairs like Pen Muffler's estimate today, which $1,300 to fix this front end. It didn't need $1,300 worth of work. They were completely wrong. They had some of it right and some of it wrong.
Right.
But there's
But they also
dealerships.
charged $184 an hour.
Yeah. So our labor rate I have at that cost because I wanted to be the most competitive shop around. And then there's days here that there's no work.
Yeah.
There's days that there's no work here.
Yesterday was nice though.
And just blows my mind. I mean, you get instant $50 an hour difference between most shops than here, and you're getting underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed. Your car's sitting for weeks for ignition switch or a starter job, which I know the customers instantly land at. Or
And I'll say it again, just like I said it to you this morning. There's no way the average person would let their car sit on a lot for 2 weeks without.
and I kind of agree with you, or longer. Like I'm there for a fucking check engine light, or why is my car sitting here for a month or 2 months?
Because I want to make my lot look full and make it look like I'm so busy.
Here your car comes in and we get right on it, and if we can't get right to it, we'll tell you like, hey, it's going to be 3-4 hours for us getting your car. We are legit about that, because we don't want people saying that, oh well, you know. And I've been down this road, because when I came through working at Midas, they never wanted you to tell the customer you couldn't get the car in. They didn't care what you were doing. They would make you back out a car like you're doing right now, Jude, sitting here burning up my time when you should be putting a caliper on.
I didn't realize it came in.
It came in right in front of you.
He was on his phone.
They would make you button up a job and get that oil change in, trying to build that customer loyalty, even though the customer had no intentions of being a loyal customer to you.
Sometimes those oil changes turn into.
Sometimes they do, but we're not set up to be a quick lube.
But with your regular customers, sometimes the oil changes turn.
They
into a
all
bigger
understand. They come here and drop them off.
job, and that turns into a bigger job.
It turns into whatever job it is, whatever the car needs. If it needs a tire plug or it doesn't need anything, it gets an oil change and it goes out. No different than anyone else's.
The
They get
people
this-
that come in here and just ask for an oil change, they're walking out just paying for it.
That's it. They'll never come back. They'll come back with new parts on their car from someplace else.
Right.
So the point is there are a lot of shops out there are double dipping labor time. You should be aware. And just because a shop has a set labor rate, it's not a lot lower. And I actually plan on raising it this year too, a little bit more. But almost every shop around here is equivalent labor time to the dealerships, with guys that have toolboxes the size of a fishing tackle box.
Your labor charge
Pep Boys, Firestone, Mavis, all those
is
guys.
equivalent to yours.
Equivalent to dealership labor times.
Oh,
Like
yes,
what
yes.
dealer shops are charging the customers their labor rates?
Yeah.
$180 an hour at Pep Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching.